Life
I
Audio.
heard them say my name, Stephen Furtick. I ran back in the room, and the guy, he sighs, and this look of agony, like hearing my name was toxic to his brain. And he goes, unqualified.
How could anyone say that about Stephen Furtick, founders of one of America's fastest growing churches, Elevation Church, New York Times best-selling author, and now touring with his own worship team that's top of the Christian music charts, Elevation Worship. You're about to hear the whole story of how Stephen Furtick got over feeling unqualified, and he's going to teach you how to do the same. I have a very special offer just for you. Don't beat yourself up if you don't know what step to take to get to your goal or even make a goal. I've completely been there. You just haven't had the right tools that will help you learn how to bounce back from a plot twist. I got you. I created them through my own experience of job loss and divorce and single parenting and a whole lot of therapy. I would love to help you get back on your feet. It would be my honor. If you're sick and tired of not getting anywhere, sign up for my very affordable and fun group Brave coaching plan. It starts Sunday. We have 5 weekly video sessions and 5 easy steps to get your Brave on. So in less than 6 weeks, by Labor Day weekend, you are going to have a plan on what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to accomplish it. I mean, think of the ways that you invest in yourself. You buy a gym membership, you maybe invest in healthy food. Those are all fantastic things. I would never ask you to give those up. But what if you could also just get yourself to the next level by investing in an affordable coaching program that would help you learn how to live a strong and courageous life? And instead of just being envious of the people you see living amazing lives on Instagram, you were the one that was actually living it more instead of scrolling. Sign up at getyourbraveon.info for my first ever group Brave coaching plan. It starts Sunday, August 8th. I cannot wait to pour into your life. Just go to getyourbraveon.info and sign up. I'll immediately send you an email and tell you what the next step to take is. And be a hero today. If you have a friend who's always negative, always beating themselves up, copy the link to this podcast and send it to them a text. Hey, I thought this would make your day. And if it does make your day, then please be a hero to me and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Rank it, give me 5 stars, and give me a little message about why you love the podcast. That will help me reach even more people with a message on how to live a strong and courageous life, because the more reviews, the more Apple say.
Hi, I'm James Seawood, one of the narrators on the Abide app, a premium ad-free biblical meditation experience. Join the millions of people who download the Abide app to reduce stress, improve sleep, and experience the peace of God every day. You can text the word PEACE to 22433 for a 7-day free trial of Abide. Just text PEACE to 22433, and you'll likely hear from me again on the app as I guide you through daily meditations or help you fall asleep and experience the peace of God.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Curry, one of the narrators on the Abide app, a premium ad-free biblical meditation experience. Join the millions of people who download the Abide app to reduce stress, improve sleep, and experience the peace of God every day. You can text the word PEACE to 22433 for a 7-day free trial of Abide. Just text PEACE to 22433, and you'll likely hear from me again on the app as I guide you through daily meditations or help you fall asleep and experience the peace of God.
Sends it out to people just like you and me who need this message. Overcoming imposter syndrome. The 7 things to do when you feel completely unqualified to handle whatever is in front of you, with author and speaker Stephen Furtick. Hey, it's Amanda Carroll, host of the Get Your Brave On podcast. This is for you when you feel like you're just not good enough. When you feel like the broken pieces of your life are too shattered to be put back together again. And we're all about brave lessons here. These are the 7 truths about who you are and how God wants to use you to help you be more brave. It's highly possible I actually needed this episode more than you. There are 2 good reasons why I'm actually rerunning this interview, an old episode from March 2016. Because I'm taking this weekend off first to go on a personal retreat to finish the manuscript for my first book, Get Your Brave On. It's due in 30 days. I could use your prayers. Second, I feel unqualified to finish this. I am struggling with imposter syndrome. Defined, it means the persistent inability The persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. As soon as I signed that book deal, I felt this rush of anxiety, like, OMG, I have to actually finish this thing. There's people that believe in me. I signed a contract. Do they really know who I am? Do they know how broken I feel sometimes? So when my team at lifeaudio.com said I should run a replay, I immediately knew which one to play. My interview with author and speaker Pastor Stephen Furtick from Elevation Church. You probably haven't heard it. It's back from March 2016, but I feel it's incredibly relevant to how you and I feel today. So here you go. 8 things to do when you feel completely unqualified with Stephen Furtick.
Hey, thanks for talking to me today. How's your life?
Oh, crazy. That's okay. I've got 3 kids about the same age as yours. So
Yeah, we can swap stories.
yes. Kind of a personal question, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm wondering if you've started the sport of CrossFit.
I was going to ask you about that because I didn't do CrossFit, but I have been getting more competitive and more focused in my workouts. And I was going to ask you for some tips.
Oh, nice. I don't know about tips. I just know enough to get dangerous.
Yeah, enough to get hurt. I feel like right now that my main goal any given day is not to be injured. Do you ever feel that way? Like, I just feel like half of my workout is to not get myself hurt.
Yes. Are you training for something specific?
Hey, I'm training for life, Amanda.
Right?
I actually feel like it gets my creativity going, though. I write a lot of my sermons during the middle of a workout. It's kind of funny. I guess that's the way my brain works, but it helps me a lot.
Oh, the new book, Unqualified, How God Uses Broken People to Do Big Things. Were you inspired to write that one at the gym?
No, let me tell you how I was inspired to write that. I was watching a sermon on YouTube one Saturday, and I was getting ready to go and preach. We have church on Saturday nights. And I had it on in the background, and it came up on a recommended for you thing, what to watch next on YouTube. And so I was feeling wild and crazy, so I just clicked on it. And it was a theologian doing an interview. This guy is legendary. I've never met him, but I read his book in seminary, or I should say I read a portion of his book in seminary. I wasn't necessarily the best student, but I read portions of his book in seminary. And he was going through an interview where the interviewer was asking him in a lightning round to give his opinion on different events in the church world and different people in the church world. And so the interview, I played it. And when it got to that part, I heard them say my name. I heard them say Stephen Furtick. I ran back in the room, like real self-important, like they're talking about me. And I didn't know the guy knew who I was. And I was so shocked to hear my name. And they said, Stephen Furtick. And the guy, he sighs and he exhales and he has this look on his face, this look of agony, like hearing my name was toxic to his brain. Like he just, and so the whole crowd is chuckling, like they knew he wasn't a fan of me. And he looks down, and I wish I could demonstrate this for you. I'll try my best to explain it. He breathes out and he looks back up and he goes, unqualified. That was his one word to describe me.
No way.
This book is actually about what I felt when he said that, because there have been times where I would have thought of some other words that I could respond back with that would not be appropriate for this setting. But in that moment, I felt almost like it was a compliment and I was comfortable with it. And so I decided to write my book called Unqualified and own the fact that I have never felt like I had what it takes to do what God has called me to do as a pastor, as a dad, as a person, as a friend. And that's what the book is about, is acceptance of that fact. Because I think everybody has, whether a mom trying to raise kids or whether somebody trying to a guy trying to do his job, we all have this sense that we're faking everybody out, and how long until they realize that I don't know what I'm doing. And so it may not be on YouTube from a theologian, but we all have that voice, unqualified. Every time you go to speak, every time you go to make a contribution, every time you go to tackle something. And the book is about dealing with that and knowing that impression or sensation is not going to go away, but how you respond to it determines whether or not you're going to see everything that God has promised you come to pass in your life.
Man, do you feel like these feelings of unqualified that we have, I know for you, it did something different. For me, I feel like the feelings of unqualified prevent me from moving forward.
And they can. It did something for me, though, that was so valuable in allowing me to talk about it and let people know that because you feel that way doesn't mean that you have to agree with it and you can actually move through those feelings of brokenness. The book is about how we flatline these Bible heroes. When we teach our kids about Moses, we teach Moses as a great and mighty man of faith, but Moses was also a murderer. Moses also made excuses. Moses also had 1,000,001 reasons why this is a bad idea, God. But yet by the time we get done with Moses, he's this beautiful picture of unwavering faith. And I think we've done a disservice when we don't present Jacob as a trickster or Abraham as someone who had to lie about who his wife was. We don't present these Bible characters as broken people. Those are the people that God chose. And so the message of the book is that that feeling of being unqualified is actually what's going to push you to discover the strength that's in your weakness. Because we think those two are opposites. We think that weakness and strength are opposites. But what I'm trying to get across and what I'm coming to realize is that my weakness, this is what Paul said in 2 Corinthians 12, by the way. He said, when I am weak, then I am strong. So that weakness that I feel can actually be a way for me to receive God's strength beyond my own. But if I allow other people's assessments or my own assessments of myself to limit me, I'll always stay stuck and I'll never see it. If I push past it and learn how to say, yeah, I'm unqualified. Yeah, I feel that way. Yeah, I feel like I don't have what it takes, but I'm gonna press in to see how God's grace is going to close the gap between my weakness and his dreams for my life.
Hi, I'm James Seawood, one of the narrators on the Abide app, a premium ad-free biblical meditation experience. Join the millions of people who download the Abide app to reduce stress, improve sleep, and experience the peace of God every day. You can text the word PEACE to 22433 for a 7-day free trial of Abide. Just text PEACE to 22433, and you'll likely hear from me again on the app as I guide you through daily meditations or help you fall asleep and experience the peace of God.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Curry, one of the narrators on the Abide app, a premium ad-free biblical meditation experience. Join the millions of people who download the Abide app to reduce stress, improve sleep, and experience the peace of God every day. You can text the word PEACE to 22433 for a 7-day free trial of Abide. Just text PEACE to 22433, and you'll likely hear from me again on the app as I guide you through daily meditations or help you fall asleep and experience the peace of God.
A life that you can actually find strength there that you never knew.
Love it. So what do you want someone to feel after they finish the very last page of your book?
Understood. I want them to feel understood. I want them to feel known. I want them to be affirmed that God chose you not only in spite of your problems, because I think that's the message we preach in the church, is almost like God overlooked a lot of stuff before he gave you those kids. God can use you anyway, but I want to say God is going to use you because of some of the very deficiencies that you think are going to prevent you from fulfilling your purpose. So one example that I've used to explain it is that Paul tells the church at Corinth, when he's writing to them, that he is not a very impressive speaker. And when we picture Paul, we picture this powerful preacher. You know, he contributed approximately 23% of the New Testament. He founded the church in continents where Christ had never been named. He was very effective, but he wasn't very good at speaking. And sometimes people would criticize him that he wasn't very powerful or forceful in his speaking, but that his letters were weighty. Well, the thing that hit me in reading that was that Paul may have never picked up a pen to write if he had been more impressive as a speaker. So it was the thing that he couldn't do as well as some others could do it, which was speak, that led him to do what only he could do and write. And that's why we have those New Testament letters today, like Galatians, like 1 Corinthians, like Ephesians. It may have been because of Paul's deficiency that he fulfilled his destiny. And that's the message I want to get across. I'm tired of people feeling like there's this class of Christians and class of moms and class of preachers and people that have some access to some secret strength that you don't have. This is a book about calling all people who feel unqualified to know that if you honestly offer God the current version of you, That's the version he loved. That's the version that he chose. That's the version that he wants to work through. And believing that is the first step. And if you take the first step, God will reveal the next. And so we're trying to get people moving beyond their feelings of inadequacy.
I love that. I speak to a lot of single moms. That's kind of just my passion because it's who I am. And
Right.
you have all different kinds of scenarios where you encourage people that feel unqualified. And I think in this one area, I would love your encouragement for single moms. You feel like you're not the picture perfect family.
Yes.
And I always say, hey, the picture perfect family is just, it's okay. The contents of everyone's pictures are different.
Wow.
Like
Wow.
the family photo over your fireplace may not have a dad in it, but you're a family. And
That's powerful. I feel unqualified to speak to the issue of being a single mom. I feel also though like I have something to say to the single mom who feels that way. And while my experience may not be the same, I think the insight will apply is that we see the pieces and God sees the picture. And it's very difficult when you especially have what you feel like are missing pieces, and maybe even feel like the missing pieces are your fault. Sometimes you blame yourself. I could have worked harder if I had chosen better, if I had been more. All of those things are exactly where our minds will focus unless we allow God to give us the perspective of knowing that he knew exactly what he was going to be working with at this stage of your life. And you either believe this or you don't. But I want to encourage you to embrace the fact that God saw every piece that wouldn't be there and he accounted for it. And it's part of the picture that he's creating. Because sometimes I feel like in my own life, if I can build a bridge from where I am to where the single mom might be, I feel like there are gifts, skills, abilities, aptitudes that are required to lead my church that I don't have. And one day I was telling my wife about this saying, I think God should have picked someone else. And I think that's what a single mom would feel from time to time, not only based on the natural limitations of income or time. I know those are huge, but I think it's even deeper than that. It's picturing how much better someone could do in that situation. And Holly looked back at me one day. I was just going on and on about how I don't know if I have what it takes to lead the church to the next level. And she said something that was so strong, but it was so simple. I didn't realize how deep it was when she said it. She said, well, you're the pastor we've got. So you're the pastor we've got. And that's my word is you're the mom they've got. And something about you, God saw that you had the capacity to fulfill this calling. And I do think you have to see it as a calling. You can't see it as any less of a calling than someone sees their professional ministry or than you see your radio career. I feel like there's probably areas of your life, Amanda, where you feel very competent. Even when we were talking about working out, there are areas where you feel like you've got this, but everybody is secretly struggling somewhere and feeling bad that they're not able to give what they're sure that someone else could provide. And the reason we feel this way is because we have an incomplete image and imagination of what other people's lives are like. And so we only see glimpses, and it's never been worse than it is right now. And I talk about this a lot in the book because another thing that Paul talks about is not comparing yourselves against yourself. When you compare yourself as a mom against that other mom, and she shows you the picture of them at the beach, and they're all smiling, yes, and they all have their American Girl dolls, and you haven't been able to take your kids on a vacation for 4 years. What she didn't show you is that the husband didn't even want to be on the beach for the picture, or maybe can't stand to be around her and spent the whole day at the mall secretly wishing to leave, and maybe he didn't even show up in time. None of that is visible. So now we've got something on Pinterest, something on Instagram, something on Facebook that is an incomplete image that we are comparing our reality to, and we're comparing our real to their ideal, and it fosters manipulation and pretension. And now I feel the pressure to project this image of perfection and to pretend to be somebody that I'm not. And one thing I'm realizing, if you really want to be blessed, God can't bless who you pretend to be. So that person, that mom, that incomplete, inadequate version of a mom that you are, not the one who cuts the sandwiches into the shapes of dinosaurs and Dora, but the one who yells at the kids, barely gets them to school, but is there to drop them off. That present mom, that's the one God can bless. That's the one God can use. And you don't need to offer him some perfected pretend version of what you think a mom is supposed to be based on an ideal that's presented to you that has no place in reality. I'm sorry, you got me preaching now, but I feel this in my heart because it's not fair what we do to each other when we carefully construct these images which have little to no basis in reality, and people are comparing themselves against what we've shown them, but we've only shown them the parts of us that we're proud of. And meanwhile, everybody has a showroom and a warehouse. So I think you got to be very careful about that comparison game. Sometimes you can actually be fulfilling your calling and winning with your kids, but feel like they're frustrated with you. You're really projecting onto them a frustration that's not even their frustration with you. It's your frustration with yourself that's rooted in comparison to a picture of a life that's not even real.
The picture-perfect family. The so-called
picture-perfect family. Also known as the pretend family, also known as post family. And none of it is real. And the sooner we realize that, and realize that God sees the big picture in our broken pieces and he's making something beautiful of it, I think then we can begin to offer him what we have instead of waiting on the piece that we think we're missing to begin building the life that he's called us to construct.
What do we do with these broken pieces that we have to not be so obsessed about the one that's missing? How do you continue to construct that life with the pieces that we got?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's illustrated all throughout Scripture, first of all. I mean, Moses was called to lead the Israelites out of slavery, and the first thing God told him is to take the staff that was in his hand. So it always starts with what's in your hand. It always starts with the time that you have. It always starts with the resource that you have. And the strategy, I believe, of the enemy to discourage us and to discount us and to oftentimes just completely eliminate progress in our lives is to get us focused on some point in the future where we're going to have something we don't have now. And that's when I can make a difference. And that's when I'll have margin. So I think anytime you take an evaluation of what's in your hand, you realize you're underestimating your strengths. You're underestimating your advantages. And we could get very practical about this in a way to say that sometimes we're overlooking the very thing that makes us powerful. I feel like so many times we don't even see the contribution and the impact that we're making. And sometimes it starts with a gratitude for what we have. Sometimes it starts with activating what we have. Sometimes it starts with spending the 10 minutes that I do have with my child rather than thinking about the 10-day vacation that I wish I had. So, yeah, I think all of that is pretty common sense, but it's harder to live out because we are so focused on what we think that we need. But everything that you need for your next season will be produced by what you do in this season. And everything you need for what's next in your life is going to come out of your faithfulness in what you have now. And just embracing that fact, even if it's limiting. And that's why I wrote the book, is to say that every great leader in Scripture had great limitations. We can walk through them. We can go actually read the Bible sometimes, looking at all of the excuses and limitations, and you'll feel like it was written currently. You won't feel like it was an ancient document. You'll feel like it was written to you because you can find so much in common with these heroes that we've made out to be people who had no limitation. But I think embracing your limitation is the first step often to overcoming it. And so embracing the box that you're in and working with the resource that you have is the first step to seeing God make your box bigger. And I believe that he'll do it over time, but it's going to start with what's in your hand.
That's beautiful. It was eye-opening to me when you wrote in the book about OMG, the new way about taking the Lord your God in vain. And the way you described it, I was in tears by the end of the chapter.
And I was in tears while I was writing that, which was originally a sermon and ended up being a part of the book that I called The Third Word, because I always thought that taking the Lord's name in vain meant don't say Jesus Christ if somebody cuts you off in traffic, or don't say, oh my God, or in the South, I'd say, dear Lord, all these things that can get a lot more graphic than that, obviously. And that's how I understood it. And I realized that to really understand what that commandment meant, you have to back up just a little bit and see how God revealed himself to Moses at the burning bush. So here's Moses, a murderer. That would have been his identity at that point. Here's Moses, a fugitive. And he's met with this presence. And when he asks God to reveal himself, because God is telling Moses something that sounds ridiculous, you're going to lead these millions of people out of slavery and you only have a staff in your hand. Moses is completely unqualified and even disqualified. And when Moses says, I need your name, God tells him, I am. And one translation is, I am that I am. And of course, the original language is Yahweh, and we translate it Jehovah into Latin, but the name means I am. That's how God identified himself. Well, if you continue to progress throughout the scripture, you realize that the Hebrew concept of taking a name in vain, maybe think of it like when you're married, you take that name. When Holly married me, she took my name Furtick, which isn't maybe like the most easy to spell name, so I don't know if she got a good deal on that. But she took my name, and when she took my name, she took my identity. So now everything that I have, she has, and everything that she has, I have. That's how the marriage is supposed to be. The two become one. She took my name, and now I'm beginning to see that when the commandment is given to Moses, one of the 10 commandments, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. It doesn't just mean don't misuse his name, OMG. It doesn't just mean don't say his name in this context. It actually has to do with how I take his name as a way of life and as a way of belief. So when I make statements about myself, because God said his name is I am, and when I receive him and when I put my faith in him, everything that he is, it becomes who I am. You know, there's many scriptures to support this, but the Bible says that he has given us everything we need for life and godliness, that we can have anything we ask in his name. So we have his name, we have him. When I took his name and called myself a Christian, like Holly took the name Furtick, everything that God has and everything that God is became what I have and who I am. So when I believe that God is holy and God is righteous, that's good. But when I say things about myself that contradict who God is, if God lives in me, I'm taking his name in vain. And when I saw that, I realized that we all have these third words where we say, I am stupid. I am, sometimes it's not words, it's phrases, a complete idiot. I am, we don't always say them out loud. Sometimes they're spoken over us by others, but usually it's the soundtrack in our own life. And what I'm realizing now is that if I change my third word or the phrase that comes after I am, if I change that confession in my mind and the way I see it, it's just a matter of time before God's identity begins to shape my reality. And that's what unqualified is about, is saying, I am unqualified. I feel that way. That's the way I feel. But if he qualified me, then I am called. And once you begin to evaluate those third words in your life, you realize you have a mixture of them. Some are good, some are bad, some are probably accurate, some are inaccurate. But getting my third words about me to align with God's third word, because when I say I'm stupid, God says, well, I'm not, and I'm in you, and you have the mind of Christ. So don't take my name in vain. And we don't often see the connection that when we're putting ourselves down in that way, we're actually limiting who we believe God to be in our lives. And that's the point Paul came to when he said, when I am weak, that was his third word, then I am strong. Why? Because my identity now in Christ is greater than my reality was without him. And so I'm choosing to believe about me what he has spoken even more than what I see in myself.
I love it. Instead of I am afraid, I am brave.
That's right.
Or I'm alone. No, I'm a team with God.
Yep.
Yeah.
I am accepted. I am new. I am righteous. You know, you can actually make a list of these. You can get 1, you can get 10. It's a very powerful thing to evaluate what are your third words or what are your third phrases and how does that align with what God has called you to be. I think you hit on the big one, that I am alone. That's the feeling that keeps you stuck in isolation. But when you realize I am accepted, That's really the message of this book, that God is not in love with the future version of you. God is not in love with who you're going to be in 12 years, when you lose 20 pounds, when you hit a certain number in the bank account. God is not in love with some version of you that only exists in your imagination. I am accepted right now, accepting your own acceptance, accepting who you really are, and accepting the process of change. I believe that's the key to seeing God use your life in big ways, even if you feel like it's a small start.
Well, the book is called Unqualified: How God Uses Broken People to Do Big Things, with Pastor Stephen Furtick, New York Times bestselling author, pastor at Elevation Church, and dad, husband, and bench presser.
And I'm going to work on my deadlift, so I'll have a better answer next time you ask me.
I appreciate your time very much. I wish I had more, but always an honor to speak to you.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it.
I feel more qualified now to tackle the task at hand. Yeah, me too. And if you are ready to just dive in, sign up to be a part of my first ever 5 weeks to Get Your Brave On group coaching program. It starts this Sunday, August 8th. I would love to see you on that. I'm going to teach you 5 lessons, video one-on-one sessions for us to learn how to step-by-step chase down that dream. So we're not just scrolling, admiring other people's lives on Instagram. You're actually living the life that you admire. You're going to be proud of you. By Labor Day weekend, your life could be completely on a different course. Sign up at getyourbraveon.info. Could you do me a favor? Be a hero. 2 things. Share this with a friend who maybe is always beating themselves up. And you could encourage them. Just copy the link to this podcast and send it to them in a text. That, hey, thought you'd like this. I have this goal of reaching 10,000 people with the Get Your Brave On message by August. And we are there, and we are like so close. We're 3,000 listeners away. So could you share this for me? That would be amazing. Also, would you be able to leave a review? Because the more reviews that we have at Get Your Brave On, then the more Apple Podcasts sends it out to people for them to know. So that could help reach the goal too. So we can all together inspire more people to live a strong and courageous life. I want to be about that. So big shout out to Prayerful Babe. She made a review. If you leave one, I'll give you a shout out the next episode. She said, I appreciate and love Amanda's encouragement and the way she shares her story. Amanda's helped me move through difficult times with my family and realize that I'm not alone and that I'm moving on through this rough time with grace. I now have a sense of belonging to the Get Your Brave On Brave Babe tribe. I love that. Yes, you do. I believe that we can encourage others with this podcast and grow the Brave Babe tribe. Let's go. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of you, Prayerful Babe. Thank you so much for that review. Could you leave yours? Again, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode, and please copy the link to this podcast and share it with 1, 2, maybe 3 friends. Thanks. And thank you so much to my friends at lifeaudio.com. They've got great podcasts to boost your faith. Podcasts about Bible study, prayer, parenting, single parenting, and more. Check them out at lifeaudio.com and get your brave on.
Hi, I'm James Seawood, one of the narrators on the Abide app, a premium ad-free biblical meditation experience. Join the millions of people who download the Abide app to reduce stress, improve sleep, and experience the peace of God every day. You can text the word PEACE to 22433 for a 7-day free trial of Abide. Just text PEACE to 22433, and you'll likely hear from me again on the app as I guide you through daily meditations or help you fall asleep and experience the peace of God.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Curry, one of the narrators on the Abide app, a premium ad-free biblical meditation experience. Join the millions of people who download the Abide app to reduce stress, improve sleep, and experience the peace of God every day. You can text the word PEACE to 22433 for a 7-day free trial of Abide. Just text PEACE to 22433, and you'll likely hear from me again on the app as I guide you through daily meditations or help you fall asleep and experience the peace of God.